What's the absolute wildest, most unbelievable thing you've ever witnessed during your job? I worked at a 24/7 gas station. Around 3 a.m., this dude walks in, dressed in a full astronaut suit, helmet and all. He just calmly walked up to the counter, grabbed a bag of chips, paid with exact change, and walked out without a word. No explanation, no jokes. Just an astronaut buying snacks in the dead of night. The cashier and I just stare at each other. Still have no idea. Working in retail, I once saw a woman try to return a live chicken. Not a cooked one, not a stuffed toy. A squawking, clucking hen. She claimed it didn't fit her home decor. The manager, bless his soul, was speechless. Security had to escort her and the bird out. Pretty sure the chicken laid an egg on the way out. I'm a data center technician. We had a scheduled power maintenance, and as the backup generators kicked in, the entire server room started emitting a low harmonic hum. Then for about 30 seconds, every single monitor in the room displayed a perfect, unmoving image of a single, blinking blue eye. Not a glitch, not random pixels. Just a giant digital eye. Then it was gone. IT is still baffled. I was a landscaper. We were trimming hedges at a very old, very wealthy estate. As we were working on a particularly overgrown section, we uncovered a perfectly preserved, ornate treasure chest. Inside, not gold, but hundreds of perfectly preserved antique playing cards. Each one an individual work of art. The owner just shrugged and said, "Oh, that's just Uncle Bartholomew's gambling debt." Made me question everything. Okay, I make coffee for a living. One regular, a quiet old man, always order black coffee. One day, he comes in, and instead of his usual, he asked for a hot chocolate with extra sprinkles for my parrot. I assumed he was joking. Nope. He pulls out a tiny, velvet-lined box from his coat pocket, and there, sitting primly, is a perfectly dressed parrot. It chirped approvingly at the order. The parrot drank it. Demolishing an old theater, we were tearing down a wall, and behind it, we found a small, locked door. Inside, the room was completely empty except for a single, antique music box. When you opened it, instead of music, it played a perfectly clear recording of a child laughing. It echoed in the empty building. Creepy doesn't even cover it. We boarded it back up. Nobody went in again. Paramedic here. We got a call for a strange odor at a remote cabin. Turns out, the elderly occupant had passed away peacefully. But surrounding him, meticulously arranged on the floor, were dozens of miniature, perfectly crafted dioramas depicting scenes from his life. His wedding, his first job, his dog. They were incredibly detailed. It was both beautiful and profoundly sad. Like he'd built his own funeral exhibit. I deal with IT issues daily. A user called, panicked because their computer screen was entirely covered in tiny, moving ants. I figured it was a webcam hack or a weird visual glitch. I guided him through rebooting, checking hardware, the works. Suddenly, the ants cleared, and on the screen was a message. "Thanks for the free ride, human." Then the screen went black. He'd been hacked by ants? Still no logical explanation. Worked the night shift at a truck stop diner. Around 2 a.m., this hulking biker dude, covered in tattoos, slides into a booth. He orders a stack of pancakes and a gallon of milk. Halfway through his meal, he starts humming. Then he gets up, pulls out a battered harmonica, and launches into the most beautiful, melancholic blues solo I've ever heard. He finished, nodded to me, paid, and drove off into the darkness. Never saw him again. I'm an archivist at a historical society. We were cataloging old film reels from the 1940s. Most were mundane family events. Then, we found one labeled Picnic, Summer 47. As it played, a group of people are having a lovely time. Suddenly, a perfectly preserved pterodactyl flies across the sky. It wasn't a bird. The wingspan was massive. Everyone in the footage stops and stares. The film ends abruptly. Our lab is still trying to explain it. My job is cleaning up after emergencies in the ER. One night, after a particularly rough shift, I'm mopping the hallway. Suddenly, a woman runs past me, screaming. I thought it was a patient escape. I follow, and she's heading towards the chapel. I burst in expecting chaos, and she's just levitating, about 3 feet off the ground, glowing faintly. She was praying. I backed out slowly, pretending I saw nothing. They said she had a moment. I walk dogs in a pretty affluent neighborhood. One morning, I'm with my pack when we pass this huge mansion. The owner, an old lady, is in her garden. She's talking to her prize-winning roses. Like, full-on conversation. Then, one of the roses droops, as if in agreement. She smiles, pats it, and turns to me, winking. My dog just sat there, mesmerized. I've seen a lot, but a sentient plant? Nope. I test video games. We had a build with some bizarre graphical glitches. I was running a stress test in a forced environment, trying to crash the game. Suddenly, the trees started singing. Not like a voice, but a harmonic resonance that vibrated through my headphones. Then, the sky turned into a swirling galaxy, and a giant, pixelated eye opened up. My boss called, and I just said, yes, still crashing. I'm a commercial diver, working on underwater pipelines. We were at about 300 feet down, visibility was poor. My buddy taps me on the shoulder, points. There, gliding through the murky water, was a carousel horse. Perfectly intact, painted bright red and gold, spinning slowly as if still in motion. No signs of a wreck, no cables, nothing. We looked at each other, dumbfounded. It just kept drifting away into the abyss. Working baggage claims is usually pretty boring, except for the time a suitcase came down the belt, and it was literally vibrating, like the whole thing was shaking. We all stopped. Then a tiny, high-pitched voice started squeaking from inside. Let me out. Let me out. We called security. They opened it, and it was a hamster wearing a miniature aviator jacket. Apparently, a kid hid him in his carry-on. I used to busk in the city square, playing my violin. One afternoon, a stray cat sauntered up, sat down, and started meowing in time with my music. Not just random meows, but perfectly on beat. People gathered. I sped up, the cat kept up. I slowed down, it slowed down. It was like a duet. When I finished, it gave a little marrow, rubbed against my leg, and trotted off. Best musical critic I ever had. I'm a park ranger in a really remote national park. Usually, the wildest thing is a bear getting into someone's car. But one night, during a solo patrol, I heard this incredibly loud, almost operatic humming coming from a deep ravine. It wasn't animal, wasn't human. I crept closer, shining my light down, and saw a single, ancient-looking tree, glowing faintly, and the humming was vibrating from its roots. It lasted about 10 minutes, then stopped. Never saw anything like it again. Worked at a high-end jewelry store. A very distinguished gentleman came in, looking for a very specific, very expensive sapphire. He was polite, knew his stuff. He paid in cash, a briefcase full of it. As he was leaving, he winked and said, "Don't worry, this is for a good cause. It's for my daughter's spaceship launch." I just nodded, assuming it was a weird hobby. Then, the next day, news broke about a private space launch funded by an eccentric billionaire. I'm a librarian. One afternoon, a patron came up to the desk, clutching a very old, very worn book. She looked absolutely frantic. She said she'd been trying to return it for days, but something kept stopping her. As I reached for it, a faint shimmering appeared around the book, and it suddenly felt heavy. Then, a small, almost imperceptible voice whispered from the pages, "Don't open me after midnight." She just snatched it back and bolted. Haven't seen her since. I clean an old university science building after hours. Mostly just empty labs and quiet halls. One Tuesday, I was mopping the third floor when I heard a distinct series of chirps, followed by what sounded like a tiny robotic laugh, coming from Professor Eldridge's old biolab. The door was locked. I peered through the window and saw a single petri dish, pulsing with a faint green light, and two tiny, almost perfectly formed mechanical legs scuttling inside. I booked it. Working a red-eye flight from LA to Tokyo. About 3 hours in, the cabin lights flickered, and this guy in seat 17B, who'd been asleep the entire flight, just sat bolt upright. His eyes were wide open, but they glowed with this faint, internal blue light. He didn't blink. Then, he just smoothly reclined his seat and went back to sleep like nothing happened. No one else seemed to notice. I've served thousands of people, but that guy still gives me the creeps. I work at a car rental place. We get some weird stuff left behind, sure. But one time, a guy returned a minivan, and when I went to clean it, I found an entire, perfectly preserved, ancient-looking wooden sarcophagus in the back. No kidding. It wasn't small either. We had to call in special movers. The guy claimed he forgot it was there after a themed road trip. The paperwork just said special cargo. I worked in a cookie factory, specifically assembling the fortune cookies. One shift, I was putting fortunes into this batch, and one of them felt different. Thicker. I pulled it out, and instead of paper, it was a tiny, intricately folded metallic origami crane. It felt impossibly light. I showed my supervisor, and she freaked out, told me to throw it away immediately. Said it was a manufacturing defect that never left the R&D department. But it looked like it was made of moonlight. I'm part of a team that explores abandoned subway stations in major cities. We always wear headlamps, obviously. During an expedition deep under Chicago, my headlamp suddenly died. Total darkness. Then about 20 feet ahead of me, a single, steady point of light appeared. It wasn't a flashlight beam, it was just glowing. It hovered for a moment, then slowly drifted away down the tunnel, leaving me in absolute blackness. My teammates saw it too. We left pretty quickly after that. I clean an old university science building after hours. Most nights are just echoes and fluorescent hums. But one Tuesday, I was wiping down a fume hood in the astrophysics lab when I heard a soft, rhythmic thump-thump-thump from inside a secure containment unit. It sounded alive. I radioed security, heart pounding. They busted in, only to find a single, perfectly ripe watermelon, somehow oscillating against the glass. Physics still can't explain it. We just labeled it the melon anomaly. I'm a commercial diver, working on underwater pipelines off the coast of Alaska. The visibility is usually terrible, just silt and shadows. One day, I was descending to inspect a joint when I saw it. A massive, bioluminescent jellyfish, at least 10 feet across, pulsating with an eerie blue light. It wasn't just swimming, it was watching me. It drifted alongside me for a solid minute, then vanished into the murk. My dive buddy swore he saw its glow from the surface, too. Working baggage claims is usually pretty boring, except for the time a bright pink, sequined ukulele case came down the carousel. Totally normal until it started playing polka music. Loudly. The owner, a little old lady in a vibrant floral dress, just beamed and clapped along. Turns out, she'd installed a motion-activated music player inside. Never saw another one like it. We all gave her a round of applause when she collected it. I used to busk in a city square playing my violin. One afternoon, a meticulously dressed man approached, carrying a small, ornate birdcage. Inside was a perfectly still, emerald green parakeet. He offered me $50 to play a specific classical piece, Bach's Chaconne. As I played, the parakeet slowly, dramatically, opened its beak and sang along in perfect, albeit tiny harmony. When I finished, he thanked me, gave me the 50, and walked away, leaving me speechless and the crowd in stunned silence. Worked at a high-end jewelry store. A very distinguished gentleman, easily in his 80s, came in asking for the rarest sapphire we had. He didn't want to buy it, though. He wanted to borrow it. Said he needed it for a delicate negotiation with certain entities that only respond to celestial frequencies. He paid an exorbitant rental fee up front, signed a ridiculously detailed non-disclosure agreement, and returned it 2 days later, same as new, with a cryptic thank you. Still have no clue. I'm part of a team that explores abandoned subway stations in old cities. We were deep in a forgotten tunnel, using only our headlamps, when we found a perfectly preserved, full-sized grand piano. Dust everywhere, obviously, but not a single key stuck. The weirdest part? As soon as my teammate shined his light on it, a single, clear note, a perfect C-sharp, rang out from the instrument. We froze. Then we bolted. We never went back to that station.